Have you ever replayed a conversation in your head hours later? Maybe someone texted okay instead of okay, and suddenly your brain started creating 20 different meanings. Maybe you said one awkward thing 3 years ago, and somehow your mind still remembers it at 2 a.m. If your brain never seems to fully relax, if your thoughts feel louder than the world around you, stay with me, because today we're talking about the psychology of people who overthink everything. And by the end of this video, you might finally understand why your mind works this way and why it's so hard to turn it off. Number 1. The brain that never stops. Most people think overthinking is just thinking too much, but it's deeper than that. Overthinking is what happens when the brain treats every situation like a problem that must be solved perfectly. An overthinker doesn't just hear words. They analyze tone, facial expressions, pauses, energy shifts. A simple message becomes a puzzle. Are they upset? Did I say something wrong? What did they really mean? And the exhausting part is, the brain never fully reaches the search, because overthinking is not really about finding answers. It's about trying to prevent pain. The mind believes, if I think hard enough, maybe I can avoid rejection, avoid embarrassment, avoid failure. So the brain stays alert all the time, even during moments that should feel peaceful. That's why overthinkers often feel mentally tired even when they did nothing all day. Their body rested, their mind didn't. But here's the strange part. Overthinkers are usually not weak thinkers. In fact, many are extremely intelligent and aware. And that's where things get complicated, because the next part explains why smart people often struggle with overthinking the most. Number 2. Awareness can become exhaustion. Overthinkers notice things other people miss, tiny changes in behavior, different texting patterns, small shifts in tone. They remember details most people forget. At first, this sounds like a gift, and sometimes it is. Being observant can make someone thoughtful, empathetic, and emotionally intelligent, but there's a darker side to it. When your brain notices everything, it struggles to ignore anything. A small comment can stay in your head for days. A weird look from someone can become a full mental investigation. And because overthinkers are often highly self-aware, they also analyze themselves constantly. How did I sound? Did I talk too much? Why did I say that? Their brain becomes both the detective and the suspect. And eventually, thinking stops feeling useful. It starts feeling heavy. But overthinking doesn't come from nowhere. There's usually a reason the brain learned to stay this alert. And once you hear this next part, a lot of things might finally make sense. Number 3. Overthinking is often self-protection. Most overthinkers didn't randomly become this way. Their brain learned that being careful was necessary. Maybe they grew up around unpredictable people. Maybe they were often judged, embarrassed often, misunderstood often. So their brain adapted. It started scanning for danger before danger arrived. Over time, this becomes automatic. They prepare for every possible outcome, every possible rejection, every possible mistake. Not because they want drama, because they want safety. And this creates a painful cycle. The more they fear getting hurt, the more they analyze. The more they analyze, the more anxious they become. And eventually, even simple decisions feel overwhelming. What if I choose wrong? What if I regret it later? What if this changes everything? To other people, it looks dramatic. But inside the overthinker's mind, it feels very real. Because their brain truly believes every detail matters. But here's something important. Overthinking is not the same as deep thinking, and confusing the two can quietly destroy your peace. Number 4. Deep thinking versus overthinking. Deep thinking creates clarity. Overthinking creates paralysis. That's the difference. A deep thinker reflects to understand. An overthinker reflects to control outcomes. One leads to insight, the other leads to exhaustion. Deep thinking sounds like, what can I learn from this? Overthinking sounds like, what if this goes wrong forever? One moves forward, the other keeps looping. And the hardest part? Overthinkers often know they're overthinking, But awareness alone doesn't stop it, because overthinking is emotional, not logical. You can tell yourself, relax, it's not a big deal, but your nervous system still feels danger. That's why overthinking becomes strongest at night. When the world gets quiet, the mind gets louder. No distractions, no movement, just thoughts. And suddenly, your brain starts replaying everything you tried to ignore all day. But there's another reason overthinkers struggle so much, and it has to do with control. Number 5. The need to control the future. Overthinkers often hate uncertainty. Not knowing feels unbearable. They want answers early, reassurance early, certainty early, because uncertainty feels unsafe. So they mentally rehearse everything: future conversations, future problems, future disasters. They prepare emotionally for things that haven't even happened, and sometimes never happen. But the brain thinks, if I prepare enough, maybe I won't get hurt. The problem is, life doesn't fully obey preparation. And this frustrates overthinkers deeply, because no matter how much they analyze, they still can't fully control outcomes. People can still leave. Mistakes can still happen. Plans can still fail. That's why overthinking often creates the exact exhaustion people are trying to avoid. And sadly, many overthinkers become trapped inside their own mind, which leads to something most people never see. Number 6. The quiet loneliness of overthinkers. Overthinkers often look calm on the outside, but inside, their mind is loud. Constantly questioning, constantly replaying, constantly worrying. And because explaining all of this feels exhausting, many stay quiet about it. They don't want to sound dramatic, so they carry the noise alone. That's why many overthinkers love isolation. Not because they hate people, but because silence feels easier than explaining their brain. When they're left alone, there's less pressure, less misunderstanding, less emotional risk. But isolation also creates a dangerous space, because without outside grounding, thoughts grow bigger. A small fear becomes a huge story. A tiny doubt becomes a full emotional spiral. And the scary part is, overthinkers usually know they're spiraling while it's happening. They just don't know how to stop. But despite all this, overthinkers also have beautiful qualities, and people rarely talk about that part. Number 7. The beautiful side of overthinkers. Overthinkers care deeply. That's why they think deeply. They replay conversations because they care about how they made others feel. They analyze situations because they want to do things right. They notice details because they pay attention. And honestly, some of the kindest people are overthinkers. Because they understand emotions deeply. They know what pain feels like. So they try hard not to cause it. They remember little things about people. They check in carefully. They love carefully. But they also need something many people never give them: reassurance. Not endless reassurance, just honesty, clarity, consistency. Because a peaceful environment helps quiet a loud mind. And maybe that's the saddest part about overthinking. Most overthinkers spend their whole life trying not to be too much, while carrying thoughts that are already too heavy. So here's the final thing I want to say. If you overthink everything, you're not crazy, you're not weak, and you're not broken. Your mind learned to protect you by staying alert. It just forgot that not every moment is danger. Not every silence means rejection. Not every mistake defines you. And not every thought deserves your attention. Sometimes peace begins the moment you stop trying to solve everything. Because life is not a test you can perfectly prepare for. Some things must simply be lived. So tonight, when your brain starts replaying old conversations, ask yourself, am I trying to understand this? Or am I trying to protect myself from something? That answer changes everything. If this video felt painfully accurate, subscribe, because the next video is about something even deeper. Why people emotionally detach from everyone without realizing it. And once you understand that, You'll never see people the same way again. I'll see you there.